Howdy ho, Maplers, and welcome to our 25th 250. I bet you didn't expect to see this class, did you? This time, Jett, our secret 250. Holy moly, boys. Alright, Jett was always planned to be my 25th 250. Hayato was merely a distraction so that I could level Jett in the background in secret without anyone being the wiser. And we pulled it off. We got to 250 without a single person recognizing us or realizing what I was up to. Holy moly, I was certain that I was gonna slip up and show this Jett sometime during the Wondroid and the Hotel Maple grind, but I managed to not mess it up long enough to finish this in perfect secrecy. For the gear, for the first time in her life, my Zero has had to share her 2-line drop gear. Because I didn't want to make it super obvious that I was leveling a class other than Hayato, so my normal stuff went to the Hayato, which means I had to create a set of backup accessories, which conveniently enough, since I have a Meso farmer, I do have a backup set of accessories. They've never been moved off my Zero before, but hey, there's a first for everything. Possibly by far the best cup I've ever gotten from CPB. I don't think Jett really needed this cup, to be honest. It's kind of really overkill. I wish I would have held this for Bowmaster or something, because Arrow Platter's base damage scares me a little bit, but hey, why not go full flex, right? Throw it on the Jett, embrace the meme. For the belt, just reusing the strength belt. I'm really only using it for the 17 start stats, so it works out. Normal stuff from the mechanic, and with our compensation flames, we redid a few of our worst flames. That being the Royal Wanderer hat, which is just a fill-all for my pirate, so I scrolled and flamed it specifically to be for both strength and dex, and it works out pretty well. Okay face, okay eye, nothing too special. We reflamed our top and actually got a fairly decent all-stat flame, so works out really well. For the pants, just rolled 32 flat dex and another line of stat. It was an improvement, so we kept it. For the boots, re-rolled that, got 70 and 5, which is super nice for the boots. And then for the rest of the gear, everything is the same flame-wise. Nothing has really been changed. It's just the Zero's accessories, you know. For the emblem and the secondary, surprisingly, Jett is fairly strong in the mobbing department. You don't need a ton of bonus damage. Your worst damaging skill is your turret deployment, Little Alexander here. He's got a low base damage, but with boost nodes and just buffing in general, you can make up for that for the most part. For your inner ability, ideally you want boss damage for your first line, but if you roll 20% boss, hold on to that until you're done training, because more Meso is more Meso, and Meso is by far the most important thing in the game currently. For your V Matrix, right there in the very first spot, you knew it was gonna be there, but you didn't know who it was gonna be on. Decent Holy Symbol, the best skill in the V Matrix by far. EXP, drop rate, everyone should be using it. It's super important. Always have this on if you don't need your 5th job skills right away. And then, of course, the second most important one. For every pirate in the game, loaded dice. Also known as Decent Holy Symbol Part 2. You lock your 6 die and boom, permanent, 100% uptime EXP buff, stacks with Decent Holy Symbol. Just make sure that all pirates are going to be getting crazy EXP no matter what. For your boost nodes, you need to boost Starforce Salvo, Singularity Shock, Backup Beatdown, Vortex Cross, Falling Star Turret Deployment, and Planet Buster. That covers all of your important skills, and really, there's nothing outside of these that you need. To be completely honest, Vortex Cross you don't terribly need, but you don't need anything besides it, so you might as well. There are some niche training rotations with Vortex Cross, but no matter how hard I tried with Frenzied Spawn, they're just garbage when compared to normal training. Maybe with Kishin or Fury Totems training in Reboot, Vortex Cross is a viable training method, but for reg servers with Frenzied Spawn, nah, Vortex Cross is just hot garbage. For your V skills as a Jett, you've got the Giga Chad skill, Suborbital Strike. This skill is effectively two modes, Beam Splitter and Beam Amplifier. Beam Splitter breaks the drone up into 4 littler drones and they go around and mob for the entire uptime of the skill. There's a short delay between their attacks, but it's almost unnoticeable because of how good this skill is at mobbing. It's insane. This thing drags Planet Buster's dead carcass across the finish line in terms of mobbing. This will end up actually doing probably like 40% of your mobbing, the other 40% being done by Little Alexander, and then finally 20% is done by Planet Buster. This skill's incredible for your mobbing. And then Beam Amplifier, it is effectively a 100% uptime 10-line hurricane for the entire duration of the skill. It's insane. It sounds insane because it is insane. The amount of damage this thing dumps out is crazy good. And it's not strictly single target either. While yes, it does only focus one mob, it can hit 10 mobs. It has a very small hitbox, albeit, but there's potential there. That means if there's a shade split or there's multiple bosses like Pierre or Phase 1 of Black Mage, this is going to be hitting all of the important targets and it's going to be dealing crazy good damage for its entire uptime. There is nothing bad about Suborbital Strike, and that's probably why it's the best skill Jett has. There's no downsides to this. Always use this. It's so good. No matter what you're doing, you want to have this on cooldown. It's crazy, crazy good. And then your next skill, Allied Fury. I started off not liking this skill too much because really early on in the training areas for Jett, this skill doesn't add anything to your EXP rates. It's only at the later levels, like your 240s and above, where this starts to shine, because that's when the maps start to get bigger and you need the added mobbing power of Allied Fury. Think of this skill effectively like Trick Blade from a Shadower, but exponentially better because it's only got a 6-second cooldown. It's so crazy good as a mobbing skill for uptime that it can clear entire halves of the map by itself, because you're gonna need it in those larger maps because Planet Buster sure ain't gonna fucking do it. And then for bossing, it also does really good damage there. You want to be using this skill on cooldown, both for your mobbing and your bossing towards the later levels. It's really nice. It starts off not super important, so don't worry about throwing it on your V Matrix right away. There are better skills to throw on, like your boost nodes or Suborbital Strike, Decent Holy Symbol, etc. But the later you get into Jett, the more you're going to embrace this skill. It's really, really valuable. And then the next skill, the most buggy skill Jett had before Nexon fixed it, Gravity Crush. This is effectively the biggest summon in the game. It may not look like it, but the hitbox is ginormous. This thing can effectively clear top to bottom CLP from the middle by itself. It's super duper good as a summon. It only lasts 30 seconds, so it's not like absurdly overpowered or anything for mobbing, but this is really, really good as a looting button. You throw this thing down, it will single-handedly clear the map, and then you can just use the time it's up to go loot everything in the map, get back into position, replace your Alexander, and then just hop back in and get back to training. You can even use it in your training rotations if you've got your loot cycles down, and just exponentially make your EXP rates better. It's an amazing skill. And then, the most iconic skill Jett has, the Swag Scooter. I love this skill because it's hilarious, but I also hate this skill because it's got some infuriating little bugs. I love it because, well, it comes with a free Breath of Divinity, quote unquote. It gives you a 600% max HP shield. That's insane! That's effectively 6 Breath of Divinity's worth of shielding. The only caveat being, unlike Breath of Divinity, you can't refill this shield. This is a one and done type of shield. But still, 600% max HP shield is crazy good. That's probably one of the best defensive skills in the game. Not to mention this is a hovering skill which has free movement for its entire duration, which means you can fly above Lucid Dragon, you can fly above Lotus lasers, you can fly super fast out of the way of knockbacks, what have you. This skill is incredible. You're also immune to knockbacks, so in hard Lotus, if he's trying to push you back, nah fam, can't push me, I'm on the scooter. Only downsides really, there are some bugs. This is a hover skill, and Nexon seems to have forgotten the fact. You can never ground this at all. It is perpetually hovering. So if you want to replace your Alexander turret, if you want to go through a portal, too fucking bad. If you're in dojo and you just use this to burst a boss and you've still got over half the duration left on it, well, you better ditch that scooter in the alley because you're not taking it to the next floor with you. It's kind of annoying, but you get around the little bugs, and this is just an amazing skill. You have all-out barrage on a 5-second cooldown internally. Another problem with that being there is no cooldown indicator on this, so you kind of just have to count to yourself 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and just time out all-out barrage like that, because unfortunately you cannot cast all-out barrage while you're using Starforce Salvo, which means you have to stop your hurricane ability to use all-out barrage, and if you mistimed it, you're just gonna stand there like a bump on a log, not doing a bunch of much. But once you get the timing down, once you understand when to use this, when not to use this, especially for dojo, it's an amazing skill. It's super defensive, it's super offensive, it's great all around. It's just minor bugs make it a little less perfect. It's a great skill. Then, as always, True Arachnid Reflection, you get it for completing the Will storyline, slap it on as soon as you finish Asphera, decent mobbing, decent bossing, all around good skill. Decent Sharp Eyes, bonus crit rate, bonus crit damage, pretty much everyone's going to be using this unless you're an explorer who has Sharp Eyes, or an archer rather, because crit damage is crazy good no matter who you are. And then for your last slot, Overdrive. I just threw this on because I needed a skill to help me burst with elites, but you could throw on any of the skills. You could throw on Pirate's Manor, Maple Goddess's Blessing, etc, etc. Just anything to toss on to help burst elites. And then for this last slot, that was just my special training node, character building 1 primarily, and it expired right before I made this video. So, you live and you learn. Oh man. Training for Jett. Alright boys, let me tell you, leveling 1 character through the 240s is kinda painful. Leveling 2 at the same time is a new type of painful. Oh lord, I'm hoping I don't have to do this ever again. But for your training, 200 to 205, as with pretty much every class. Eastern Cave Path or Below the Cave, both are very good options. I usually go to Eastern Cave Path because it's the less traveled of the two. And right off the bat, Jett's gonna hit you with some harsh reality, showing you that, yeah, Planet Buster is not a very good mobbing skill. Make sure your dice is always locked at 6 when you start training. Yeah, Planet Buster is capped at 7 mobs hit, maximum. The only way to improve that further is to get +1 mobs hit from an inner ability or to have a max level farm. That's pretty atrocious for your main mobbing skill, so you really need to use Suborbital Strike and your little Alexander turret summon to make up for a lot of mobbing, because Planet Buster is garbage. Has really good damage, has some okay reach to the ability, but its mobbing potential leaves a lot to be desired. Like literally adding 2 extra mobs hit to this ability would make Jett feel a world of difference when it comes to mobbing. Because right now you have to play around how bad Planet Buster is no matter where you're training. For the rotation here, you're pretty much just flash jumping left and right, like most classes with tall AoEs. You're just clearing. These levels go by super fast, you're not going to be here too long, and then you'll be into your first real training area once you get into Reverse City at 205. And then you transition for 205 until 215, you transition into the Hidden Research Train. And by golly, this is where you start to learn, yeah, Alexander is really, really good. He attacks absurdly fast. Look at this little dude go. just spewing out attacks. Not just fast attacks, he hits 2 mobs at the same time once you have him at level 20 boost, which is incredible. This guy is going to be stacking up your combo super quick, and he's strong enough to boot that he can just hold platforms by himself. An incredible, incredible summon. Probably my favorite skill Jett has besides their 5th job. So you just want to make sure Alexander is up 100% of the time, and then you're just going to be standing here on the right side, jump attacking left and right. Just grab this so I don't have any rune curse for the rest of the video. You just jump attack left and right. Your primary focus here is just making sure Alexander is up all the time. If he's down, toss him down. If you don't have Lucid Soul, you can replace Lucid Soul with Gravity Crush. And if you have Gravity Crush down, probably set Alexander a little more to the right because Gravity Crush's hitbox is stupid big. It'll cover the entire left side by itself while it's up, and these levels are gonna breeze by real quick. You'll get into the Hidden Iliad Field maps in Yum Yum Island super quick. I would honestly just stick it out here. There aren't too many good maps in Choo Choo Island worth going towards right away, so ideally just stay here until 215. The XP rates don't get much better, if at all, in Choo Choo Island. Then, for 215 until 230, once again, we're in Yum Yum Island, we're in the Hidden Iliad Field. This map is pretty much the staple for this level range at this point. Like, Reverse City's Hidden Research Train into the Hidden Iliad Field is pretty much the 1-2 combo for getting a character to 230 super easily, because these maps are just so goddarn good. Your rotation is Lucid on the left side, Planet Buster on the bottom. You gotta put your trust in this little dude. He will clear the entire bottom by himself. And then you hop up to the top so that you're ensuring that you're only hitting these top 2. Now, if your summon isn't strong enough, you can attack in the middle. You can triple plat with Planet Buster, but if you're doing that, you start to notice the lack of mobbing power Planet Buster has, because there's only, again, 7 max mobs hit. Just between these 3 middle platforms here, there's much more than 14 mobs, so attacking left and right is not going to clear it. This is also where you can start putting in Allied Fury, because as you notice, Planet Buster doesn't reach that right side of the map. You've got Lucid Soul on the left side clearing, and you've got your little Alexander summon at the bottom, but you have nothing really going over to the right side. Now you can time Allied Fury, boop-a-doop-a-doo, and it'll clear over to the right. Super duper handy, but it's not going to increase your EXP rates too much, so you don't have to worry about it. But this is where I threw mine on, and this is where I got a feel for it. Honestly, Lachlan isn't terribly amazing. Hidden Iliad Field has kind of just replaced it as the place to be for training until 230. So, unless you're really, really strong and you can transition at 225 to Arcana, probably just skip over Lachlan, stick it out in Hidden Iliad Field. It requires less funding, requires less range, less arcane force, and it just gives better EXP rates for most classes. For 230 or 225 if you're super funded, until you could honestly stay here until 240, because that's what I did, unfortunately, between Frost and Thunder 2. Now, doing this in secret, I figured, hey, you know what I probably should avoid? Super popular maps. Despite CLP being one of the best maps at this level range for Jett, I opted to avoid it just to not run the risk of people recognizing, hey, who's that Jett player there? And figuring out it was me. Wanted to keep this a secret. So I trained here until 240. I wanted to ideally get out of here at 235, but nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, and for whatever reason, Spanish players have invaded MTS3, and it's full most of the day, most of the weeks. But for your training rotation here, just set your little Alexander on the hill, and then you want to be standing underneath this rope, throw Gravity Crush on cooldown to the right, and while Gravity Crush is up, all you really have to do is hold down Planet Buster. Just make sure you're watching your little Alexander's summon duration, so that when he's about to expire, you hop on over, replace Alexander, and then hop on back. When Gravity Crush is down, you just want to set your Lucid Soul on the far right of this platform, because unless you're super crazy funded, she's definitely not going to be one-shotting. So you just want her to lure mobs from that right side over to you, and you just transition to jump attacking in the middle. That way you can hit that top right platform, and just as always, make sure Alexander is up as much as possible, because he's the little duder that's going to be stacking your combo. And Jett is definitely a class that likes some combo stacking. You definitely want to be running your Iran Link level 3 if you got it. It's going to reward you handsomely with EXP. And of course, if you can find a map, and more than likely because you're not going to be leveling this in secret like a crazy person, cough cough, COP. This map is crazy good for Jett. Like, you don't really notice how bad Planet Buster is when you're full map clearing with Planet Buster. Almost. It's not total full map clear. If you notice, Planet Buster barely reaches the end of the top platform's left corner, so there are those two mobs over on the side that you're not tagging. If you have a Lucid Soul, I'd honestly just go over and throw them down there. She'll aggro the mobs, pull them into your reach, and with Alexander and Planet Buster, by golly, you're full clearing the map. And then, if Gravity Crush is off cooldown, just throw Gravity Crush to the left instead of placing your Lucid Soul, and then you just stand still and attack to the right. And good God, I am so sad how good the EXP rates here were. Because I wasn't able to trade here at all. These rates were crazy good. Like, way better than I ever expected any Jett EXP rates to be. This was on par with some Pathfinder and Adele rates for CLP, while being just as simple. Like, honestly, I did not give Jett nearly enough credit coming into this character for how good its potential mobbing is, because really, all the experience I had with this class was with Planet Buster, and I'm gonna be real, Planet Buster is as garbage as I assumed it was. It's not a good main mobbing skill, but everything else Jett has, everything else. Your little Alexander, suborbital strike, gravity crush, vortex cross to some extent, even your hurricane ability, all of them add together to make a very versatile mobbing character. It's not something I expected to say about Jett. And for 235 until 250 or until 240, you want to ideally be in MTS 3. But again, like I was saying, this has kind of become the popular place to be. Mostly for Spanish players. We got a party going on in this channel. So I don't know if I'll be able to find a map to display. Like, I don't know if these are all Kanabatas or what, but this has just been filled up non-stop for almost the past month. It's been pretty crazy. This was the map ideally I was going to train on. I don't think we're going to find a map, so I'll just show like the Mimic rotation. I'd set Lucid Soul and your Will Skill here on this corner. You place your Alexander turret on top, and then you just flash jump and use your Planet Buster on the bottom. This is one of the places where you want to only flash jump once, because Jett has 2 flash jumps, and both of them slingshot you at different speeds. If you're double casting fast enough, you're going to be super fast and just fly past mobs well before Planet Buster can clear them. So just make sure you're keeping your flash jump in control when using Planet Buster, and you'll get fairly good EXP rates. Far better than the EXP rates I was getting in between Frost and Thunder 2, but hey. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, right? And then for 240, we're off into Celis, the new endgame for these 250 characters, and by golly, I love Celis. Honestly, Plunging Depths is one of my favorite BGMs in the game at this point, and these maps are really good to boot. You have pretty much 3 options. You've got Plunging Depths 1, which is more of the MTS style of training, where you just set your summon on top, and then you just flash jump once and use Planet Buster along the bottom. This is a very simple training rotation, and if you got the feel of the MTS rotation and you're liking it, this is probably the closest thing you've got. You're just flash jumping left and right, Alexander's clearing everything he can on the top, and your EXP rates are pretty darn good. Not the easiest rotation, but it does get you a lot of EXP. And it's very easy to loot. This map is actually really nice for looting. However, the map I did all of my training in, because for whatever reason, PD4 is still like the unsung hero of this area. Nobody's really training here. But PD4. It's actually the easiest map in Celis. Not even kidding. This is by far the easiest map for Jett in Celis, like even easier than SSS1. Your rotation is set your little Alexander here on the bottom. He is a Giga Chad of a mobber. Set your Lucid Soul opposite him to aggro mobs into his range. And then you standing on this corner, yeah, you can triple plat. So you're effectively full map clearing besides like one mob in that top left corner, just standing here. And all you gotta pay attention to is your Alexander summon duration. Just hop down, place Alexander, double jump back up, and boom! Look at this! This is so good! Like, I would have never expected Jett would have a rotation that looks this clean before I leveled it myself. Actually really good! And the XP rates here are crazy good to boot. I was averaging 115 bill per hour, which is really, really nice. And of course, you've always got SSS1 as well. Imagine that CLP rotation, just do it in reverse. Place down your Alexander on the bottom, and then you just stand here in the middle, and Planet Buster double plats. Well, hello, Mr. Elite. I guess that's one way to end the training section, right? But yeah, it's effectively just the CLP rotation. You set Alexander on the bottom, Planet Buster left and right, throw your Gravity Crush to one side, and then you just attack the other side while Gravity Crush is up. EXP rates crazy, effort levels non-existent. Oh boy. Jett, huh? I wonder how many of you sussed this out, right? Like, I had good excuses while leveling these two characters at the same time for why I was going so slow. We had Wondroid, we had the failure of Wondroid, we had the revival of Wondroid, we had Nexon being shitty to the customers, we had compensation being announced, we had the compensation then being overturned and then made into even better compensation, and then we had Hotel Maple come out the gates and we had to super farm that. I had so many things going on that I had to grind out that just left me effectively no time to train either of my 250s. Like, I was training this character as much as I possibly could in the background because I wanted this to be done before Hayato, but at the same time, I realistically couldn't just straight up abandon Hayato through the entire length of the event hell I was stuck in, because then people would get really suspicious. So I had this terribly awkward balancing act of leveling two characters at the same time while also grinding two of the most grind heavy events we've ever had back to back. So it was interesting to get here. I wonder how many people sussed out that I might be leveling a second character in the background. I know that nobody in my guild, and so far nobody in my Twitch chat or Discord has even brought up a hint of the idea. So I think I flew low enough under the radar to trick everyone on this. But into the bossing. Oh boy, Jett's bossing. How do I go about this? You know how people used to meme on Jett for being just the worst goddarn class in the game? I was one of those people. I'm no longer one of those people. Jett is supremely good right now. Like, definitely not top of the DPS charts. Jett's not a Dell tier, but she is far, far better than she has ever been. Due in part because they finally gave Strike Force Showdown a boost node. This skill has the potential to be a huge part of your DPS while bossing, and up until, I believe, 6 months ago, this didn't have a boost node at all. So for 4 years of Jett's 5th job existence, she effectively had like 25% less final damage just off of this not having a boost node. In the same vein, turret deployment didn't have a boost node until the same time. So Alexander here, my favorite skill Jett has, the best mobbing skill Jett has besides her 5th job skills, didn't have a boost node until 6 months ago. Like, Jett completely flipped the table once they got their boost nodes. This class is super, super good. She's got tons of damage. She's got good mobbing. She's got the smoothest feeling hurricane in the game. I'm not even kidding. You can flash jump and start the hurricane mid flash jump. Show me another class that is this smooth with their flash jump. You can't find one. Jett is the best. Words I never expected to say together. Jett is probably in the best position she's ever been in her entire life as a legitimate contender for a class. Again, she's definitely not top of the list, she's not a Dell tier, but she is sitting pretty and comfortable right in the middle of the pack where Beast Tamer was before they turbo gutted her, which is Why I'm a little afraid, anytime a non-KMS class gets to this point and they feel really fun to play and they have the damage to back it up and their name isn't Kana or Hayato, they kinda end up just getting kneecapped by Nexon for no apparent reason. I'm hoping, against all hope, that that isn't the case for Jett, because honestly, Jett deserves some time in the sun. She's been living under a rock for far too long. This class is actually kind of fun to play. It's really only got one major problem for me, which is Planet Buster. It's a garbage skill. Give it at least 2 extra mobs and it'll feel night and day for mobbing. But for bossing, Jett's super good. Lock your dice at 6, bonus damage. Switch on suborbitals, beam amplifier, boom, you got a 10-line hurricane. That's crazy on its own, not to mention you're already using a hurricane ability which has an RNG trigger effect. Which every 10, or not every, it's 10% chance to proc 10 extra lines of damage while you're using your hurricane. Now that's straight up RNG. I wish they would change this to just like every 10 hits it would proc so that you could get this consistently. As it sits right now, if you're lucky, the Strike Force Showdown is going to be doing a ton of damage for your bossing. If you're unlucky, you're going to go a long time without this proccing. And I've had those situations both while doing my dojo runs on this character, because I've had plenty of weeks of dojo on this character. But if they made this to proc every 10 hits of your hurricane instead of just being RNG at 10% activation chance, it would feel insanely good. It would probably be the best hurricane in the game, both feel-wise and damage-wise. It's crazy good. Then of course, Allied Fury. Let me just tell you, Allied Fury comboed into, not Gravity Crush, into your Singularity Shock. If you use these two together, they effectively cancel each other's animations, so you're not locked in place for as long. And these two together do about as much damage as Dual Blades Blade Tornado and Blades of Destiny combo. They're actually that strong when paired together. It's a lot of burst. The only downside being Singularity Shock is a 30-second cooldown, while Allied Fury is a 6-second cooldown. Instead of being close together like Dual Blade, they're kind of split apart, but that's easy enough to work around. You're just using Allied Fury off cooldown regardless, because it's really good for your bossing DPS, and then every time Singularity Shock comes off cooldown, just use them together and you get a big old chunk of damage. It feels amazing. Falling Stars. I don't know if I had a fever dream about this skill or not, but I swear this used to be, like, I'm pressing all the wrong keys. I swear this used to be a skill you could hold down to hover in the air. Now it's just like a very short duration hop. I don't know necessarily how this is useful. Maybe I'm just remembering wrong, but I believe you used to be able to just hold this key down and it would keep you in the air, kind of like the Bowmaster skill, where you hop up in the air and you shoot downwards to keep yourself airborne for a short period of time. If it did used to work like that, I wonder why it doesn't anymore. If it didn't, that'd be a cool idea to implement. I really didn't have any problems with Jett's bossing. Honestly, it's really good. Alexander has 100% uptime, so this is effectively just another little hurricane of its own. He attacks about 2 times every second, so that's 600% extra damage per second that you're adding into your bossing rotation. It's really good. The only caveat being, if you're ever going to use your swag scooter, make sure you place Alexander first. Alexander lasts 30 seconds. The swag scooter lasts 35 seconds. So if you place Alexander then hop on the scooter, you're only going to have 5 seconds without Alexander, which is good because you can't replace him while you're in the swag scooter. Small nitpicks, but the scooter is crazy good. You can tank Vellum Tails, you can just fly over Vellum Tails. It's so good. I'm actually so surprised how fun Jett turned out to be. Like, as overpowered as Hayato is, and Hayato is definitely overpowered, I was overjoyed every time I came back to training Jett after I did like public training on stream of Hayato, because coming back to this class was fun. That's just really all there is to it. Jett is fun. She may not be the best, she may not top the DPS charts, but by golly, now that Jett isn't crippled by not having very important boost nodes, Jett's a lot of fun. and I would highly recommend her to just about everyone. Give the Space Cowboy a shot. She's actually good for the first time in her life, so I want to see her get the love she deserves. She's got really good base damage as well. Jett is no slouch in the damage department, like just standing here unbuffed, 9 mil range without the greatest gear in the universe is pretty substantial. And Planet Buster, albeit a bad mobbing skill, has really good base damage. It's kind of on the same tier as Angelic Burst or Celestial Roar, where you're able to get into new areas and start training far before other classes would be able to, just off of the base damage your abilities have. So for unfunded or newer players, Jett is a very good class as well. And heck, if you don't decide you like Jett, leveling it beyond 250 or leveling it beyond 200, hey, you've got a level 200 Legion piece. Jett is a crit damage Legion piece. She is one of the strongest pieces in the game, hands down. Crit damage pieces are overpowered. So if you don't end up enjoying Jett, hey, you at least got a best in slot Legion piece out of the deal, and you got Jett's Link skill if you want to deal with that. I don't, but hey. So that's been Jett. Oh my goodness. There will be an accompanying video for this training guide. It'll probably come out a few days after the training guide, but prior to the dojo run, I know a lot of people were looking forward to actually seeing me train Jett on stream, and I know a few people will be upset that they didn't get to see it, that I did this in secret, but I got good news for you. I kept a sort of video diary of my experience, starting from the very first day I started my Jett until 3 days before I finished it was my last clip, and then the final clip that I have yet to record will be when I reveal Jett being my original plan all along on stream. I'll probably be doing that tomorrow, but when you're hearing this, it'll be several days in the past, but it's a long one. Let me tell you, Jett the movie is going to be coming at you pretty quick. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope it makes up for not being able to see Jett live. Oh, and as always with these training guides, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about Jett, about my grind for all classes 250, about playing MapleStory in general, do ask down below. I make it a point to answer any and all questions that I can in these videos, because by golly, I love this game. Even when Nexon makes it hard sometimes. This is just the one game I'm constantly thinking about. It's the one game I'll probably always come back to. And until the Hayato training guide, which honestly shouldn't be too far off now that I'm not splitting my time between Jett and Hayato for training to 250. I can just focus on Hayato and try to burn her out 4 hours at a time. So it won't be too much of a gap between this video and that, so hopefully the 70-day wait was worth it. But until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you later.